Hello everyone, my name is Justina and I am the Assistant Youth Room Supervisor at the Altoona Area Public Library, and I want to welcome you to another book look. And this is where we bring you several of our newest youth room titles. We just talk a little bit about them, tell you guys a little bit about what's new on our shelves so that you have a good idea of what new things we have to offer. As our regular style here, I'm going to start off with easier books and progress towards harder, more difficult reading levels as we go through our titles. And we are going to go ahead and get started right away with our board books. Board books, of course, are those books that have the thicker cardboard-like pages that are more designed for infants or young children, and they are more designed for reading to them, of course. This is before we're at an age where little ones will be reading on their own, and we have two new titles to talk about this week. The first title I'd like to bring up this week is our newest title here called Unicorn Potty. Learn to Potty with Unicorn. And this is a fun title. As we all know, potty training can be a challenging time for both kiddos and their caregivers. So finding a way to encourage your little one and educate them and entertain them all at the same time is a challenge. We're going to join with Unicorn as she walks step by step through the different processes of going potty and graduates from sparkly diapers to big girl pants. In this book that is full of fun and very simple illustrations that are guaranteed to bring a smile to your little one's face. And because it is that board book style, that smaller little hands friendly style book, this is one they could even take right into the potty with them to keep them entertained while they're sitting and waiting and sitting and waiting. Next up in our board book series, we have our brand new Seek and Peek Farm. The Seek and Peek Farm combines all the best parts of an interactive board book into one story. Farm animals are hiding on each of the fun pages as you learn numbers 1 through 10. Each page features multiple lift the flap functions, so each page basically asks your little one to find a particular animal, and then there are several different lift the flaps that do not all have that animal behind them. Some of them will have different animals that say things like, nope, I'm not this animal, I'm the other animal, like I am a bird. Sometimes you need to find more than one of a particular animal, like in the case of finding 2 cows. So this both reinforces animal recognition, it reinforces number recognition, it has interactivity so that it's entertaining and fun for your little ones to try to flip down all those flaps and find where the animals are hiding, especially since there's more than one of each animal on each page. And then the last page is a great review of all the different numbers, plus it contains a giant pop-up of the entire farmyard. So with this book, you can have a lot of fun reading to your little ones. It has a lot of rereadability as your little ones don't necessarily remember which flap each of the animals was under. So you can go through and read it multiple times. And it also has even some early literacy encouragement on this final page, as each lift the flap of numbers not only shows the picture of the animal, but also the word of the animal. So there's a lot of great educational and fun interactive functions of this book. Next up, we move on from our board books to our picture books or our easy readers. These are still books that are designed to be read to the child versus the child reading on their own. These are books that are full of a large amount of pictures and usually have smaller amounts of words to the page, usually a couple sentences to a paragraph at most. The first book I want to talk about this week is Where is the Dragon? And this fun story explores the idea that the shadows we see in the dark don't always match up to what is making those shadows. Sometimes the things that look the scariest are actually kind of silly. So in this book, the king cannot sleep because he is worried about dragons' attacks. So he sends off his 3 favorite knights, 1, 2, and 3, to go out into the countryside and find and stop the dragon so that he can sleep. And as the knights are going through, they see lots of different shadowy figures ahead of them. And often, those shadows look a lot like the descriptions of a dragon that the king has given them. But as they get closer with their candlelight, they are able to see that these symbols, instead of being a dragon, are actually a lot of innocuous, funny, or silly little things instead, like lots of bunnies eating carrots or birds resting in a tree. In fact, they get so used to those shadows not actually being the dragon that they're after, that eventually they stumble upon a very small bundle of hills that they don't even bother exploring. They're simple hills, just round shapes. They don't look anything like the dragon the king has described, so they move on and head back to the castle to tell the king that everything is fine. But in reality, those simple shapes that they passed by turn out to be the dragon that the king was afraid of in the first place. But it's okay. All that dragon wants to do is steal the king's bed. And this is a great story to help your little ones, especially if they are going through some fear of the dark whenever it comes to shadows and things like that, to show them that those shadows don't always have to be scary, but they can turn them into something silly just with their imagination. Next up in our Easy Reader series, we have a new title called The Midnight Fair. The Midnight Fair is a gorgeous book full of absolutely beautiful illustrations, and it is going to be designed to focus on the illustrations because this is what is known as a wordless book. There are absolutely no form of text or words at any point throughout this title. And this title is kind of a funny one. This explores what happens at a fair after all the people have left for the day and only the animals are left behind. One spunky raccoon decides to pull the lever and turns on the power to the whole park. Carousels start the run, cotton candy makers turn on, and lots of woodland creatures, as well as some of the creatures that frequent the fair, come out to explore everything that the humans do during the day, and they get to do it at night. Wordless books are a great way to foster imagination, to foster creativity. They're also a good way to encourage your little ones to read on their own prior to them being able to actually read. Since there's no words and no text in the book, they fill in the story of their own, which is a great way to encourage that early literacy and imagination. Going to step from one form of picture books into another form of picture books here and talk about a new addition to our Easy Reader Biography series. So our Easy Reader Biographies are picture books that are non-fiction. They're still full of lots of full color images, simplistic text passages, so it's easier to read. And again, these are more geared towards either early readers or children who are still being read to. In this particular title, we are going to cover the book The Fearless Flights of Hazel Lee. When other people scoffed at her dreams of becoming a pilot, Hazel would not take no for an answer. In pre-World War II America, it was very difficult for Chinese Americans to find anything but low-paying or unskilled jobs. But Hazel was not content with just having a basic laborer job because she really wanted to fly. So she actually became one of the very first female Chinese American to fly for the United States Air Force. She joined the Women's Air Force Service Pilots during World War II. It was a very dangerous job, but she loved to fly. She loved being able to overcome that barrier that had stopped so many Chinese Americans and women in the past to be able to join the military and the Air Force and serve her country. And this is a fantastic book. It is very simple, as I said, so it was able to be shared with younger readers who may not be able to sit through all of the text upon text upon text of a full-size biography, and is filled with fantastic illustrations that follow Hazel's journey as she becomes the very first Chinese American female pilot. Now it's time to graduate from being read to reading on our own. And one of the best ways to do that is with the Beginner Reader series. Beginner Reader books are specially designed books that are put into different levels of reading difficulty to help encourage new and emerging readers to read more books and to start reading without being read to by creating a story that is at a reading level that is comfortable for them. We have a variety of reading levels, 1, 2, 3, and up. Some books come pre-leveled, others we mark the leveling as we do research on them. So we're going to start right off with a level 1, which is the simplest reading level that we have. And we have a new one from the Ripley Readers called Baby Animals. And this is a fantastic book that comes with huge full-page color photographs and illustrations of many different baby animals that fit right in with our summer quest theme of this year, which is Tails and Tales. This is a great way to encourage new readers. As you can see, the words on each page are very simple, very short, and are all words that are typically learned in either preschool or kindergarten, and are also very easy to read phonetically. So this is a great way to interest your animal-loving little ones to start reading on their own. Next up, we have a new level 2 reader. This level 2 reader is designed for first graders and children who are beginning to read on their own. It's perfect for your little wrestler-to-be. This also features many full color illustrations and 1 to 2 page chapters to start introducing the idea of chapters that encourage emerging readers to keep reading. Familiar WWE faces like John Cena, Shawn Michaels, Natalia, and more explain everything from making an entrance, finishing moves, and even the role of a manager in easy-to-digest chunks of information sure to entertain and delight your little one. Then moving on to level 3 reading. Now level 3 is a little bit more difficult. It's typically for what they consider a transitional reader, someone who has moved beyond having to sound things out phonetically and has graduated to a little bit of a more difficult reading style. This is typically more geared towards 1st to 2nd grade reading levels, though obviously each child is different, and go with what is best for your individual situation. The first one we have here is actually a new entry into the Xavier Riddle and the Secret Museum series, and this one is called I Am Alexander Hamilton. Now, if you guys have seen Hamilton or heard of Hamilton, I'm sure your kids probably have asked you about Alexander Hamilton as you walked around your house singing the songs from the musical. If you're anything like me, I've watched it about 4 times on Disney Plus already. It's me and my husband's one of our favorite movies. And our daughter walks around the house all the time singing all sorts of songs from the musical that she's heard us singing, but she doesn't really have any concept or idea who Alexander Hamilton was. So in this fun story, we actually meet Xavier Riddle, who this story follows, the series follows, and he goes into the secret museum. His friend Justina is afraid of finishing kindergarten and moving on to 1st grade. The classroom is different and big and scary. So off to the secret museum they go. At the secret museum, they meet Alexander Hamilton, who informs them that he is off to a brand new school in America. Because he went to that school, he was able to help create a brand new country and have a cool job making coins, which helps Justina overcome her fear of starting 1st grade. Now, there's not a lot of biographical information about Alexander Hamilton in this. It does mostly cover the story of Justina overcoming her fear and going to the secret museum, but it does introduce Alexander Hamilton in a fun and easy to digest way for younger readers that can help answer some of the questions they might have since we've all been listening to Hamilton on repeat. Our next level 3 reader is a non-fiction title, and this title is one that's very important in our current climate. This is actually just a story called The Story of Civil Rights. And this book is geared more towards 2nd to 3rd graders, but is suitable for a variety of ages. It is filled with a variety of high-quality photographs in both black and white, mostly in black and white, though you do have a few color photographs as well. This book walks readers through the basics of the civil rights movement. Influential characters such as Ruby Bridges and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are introduced alongside some of the laws that were enacted because of their actions. Large and friendly font, it's very big, which is very, very nice for emerging readers. This is a lot of text for a young reader to want to read, so being able to have that larger font makes it a little less intimidating, a little less scary, and encourages them to read through a large text block like this, which is a good step between beginner readers and chapter books, the ability to read through those large blocks of text. And this book does make it a little less intimidating, and later pages encourage a continued sense of activism in modern times while also challenging the reader's comprehension with a series of quiz questions and an informational glossary of terms. So at the end of the book, there's actually a little quiz that your child could take to kind of double check that they comprehended and understood the information that they read in this book. This is also going to be a great pick for teachers, as this is a topic that's sure to come up in conversation. Our last title in what we consider the beginner reader series is actually titled, it isn't always considered a beginner reader. It is one that we would personally level. It's not one that comes with its own level, but we do have the rest of this series in our beginner reader section because it does do the same thing as those other beginner readers. It features lots of illustrations and imagery with short, easy to digest text chunks. And this is actually a new title from one of the most famous and beloved current children's authors, Mo Willems. And this is another one of his Unlimited Squirrels books called I Want to Sleep Under the Stars. Now, I do have a little bit of a bias to this. My daughter is an absolutely huge Mo Willems fan, and everyone in my household is too. Everything that he writes is entertaining, fun, educational, and informative, while also being funny and hilarious and a lot of fun to read, not just for the kiddos, but also for the grown-ups who might be reading to them, or the kiddos, if they are starting to read on their own, they'll start to get all the little funny jokes and things like that. This book has short chapter lengths and large words, which encourage new readers, and there are actually little comic-style breaks called acorny jokes that help break up the bulk of the main story so that your little one won't get overwhelmed as they're reading through. And the basic story of this is that Zip Squirrel wants to sleep under the stars, and the other squirrels want to do everything they can to help him. Unfortunately, their help makes it so that morning comes before Zip is able to go to sleep, and he never gets his chance to sleep under the stars. Exhausted and tired, Zip finally falls asleep, and the other squirrels finally realize that they prevented him from meeting his dreams, so they find a way to bring his dreams to him. Funny, entertaining, and just a very heartwarming story with, of course, Mo Willems' fabulous funny style of illustration. It's just a win-win all around. Another good type of book for emerging readers or new readers who are ready to read on their own. They're past the point of needing beginner readers, but maybe they're still a little bit intimidated by chapter books, by those real thick novels they see in the juvenile fiction, is graphic novels. Graphic novels or manga are something that we are working to expand our collection of at the Altoona Library, as we have seen that it is starting to be a very popular section. It is very, very beloved by the children, and it is a great way to encourage those who may be struggling with those large text blocks or aren't quite as strong of a reader as the next person to keep reading, keep being interested by having these comics that are a little bit of an easier read for them. And we have a variety of new comics to talk about today. As always, we're going to start with the easiest and slowly get more complex. And the first book I'd like to talk about is Disney Princesses Gleam, Glow, and Laugh. In Disney Princesses, this is designed for emerging readers around 3rd grade level. And this title is a collection of short story comics that covers several different Disney princesses. You want to get ready to gleam, glow, and laugh along with Rapunzel, Tiana, Snow White in these never-before-released stories that help us remember that not everyone or everything has to be perfect in order to be amazing. Fantastic art styles, engaging stories, and short text block chunks in word blurbs are sure to entice your favorite Disney fan to read along. Speaking of Disney, did you know that there is a secret Disney princess named Kilala? Her name is Kilala Reno, and she is the Princess of Paradiso. Originally released in the early 2000s, Kilala Princess is a Disney Universe-style manga or Japanese graphic novel. In the original series, Kilala teams up with 5 other Disney princesses in order to discover a magical tiara that will save her kingdom. In this newly released second part to the series, Kilala discovers that there is even more to saving Paradiso Kingdom than she thought, and she steps through the magical dream gate yet again, this time to be swept off into the world of Mulan. Simple vocabulary and easy phrases make this graphic novel the perfect stepping stone between beginner readers and more complex manga. The familiar characters and illustrations will draw in Disney fans of all ages, and the right to left or back to front reading style will make anime fans feel right at home. This is a great way to introduce the manga reading style, which is different than traditional American style graphic novels. American style graphic novels read left to right, just like we read our traditional books, whereas Japanese graphic novels or manga are actually read the other way around. So that's why you may see this on the shelf and think that this is the front of the book, but it's actually the back, because it is completely reversed in that traditional manga style. Graphic novels come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're high fantasy, sometimes they're high action, but sometimes you just want something kind of light and funny. Enter the Investigators. This is actually just the first title in a series, and we do have 2 more titles already available as well. This lighthearted romp follows super spy alligator duo the Investigators as they travel through the sewers fighting the forces of evil. This is a very similar art style to Captain Underpants and will be perfect for your Captain Underpants fans, Diary of a Wimpy Kid fans, or anyone who is just looking to enjoy some alligator super spies. Not all graphic novels are fiction either. We also carry a variety of nonfiction or based on non-true story graphic novels. One particular series that we actually carry in our regular juvenile fiction that is incredibly popular is the I Survived series. And the I Survived series is a superb collection of not quite nonfiction for younger readers. The stories are technically fictional, but are all based on true events and include a good deal of real-world information wrapped up in a good story. In I Survived the Shark Attacks of 1916, in 1916, the Jersey Shore was under siege. A series of attacks by a great white shark had most locals avoiding the ocean and the beaches. So when a boy named Chet finally gets invited to go swimming in a nearby creek, no one has any idea how close the day will come to ending in tragedy. The art in this brand new graphic novel, retelling of the infamous story, is clear and compelling. The shark attack scenes are suitably dramatic, but not too scary for younger readers. Add in a fantastic afterword that opens discussions about the history of humans' interactions with sharks and the dangers that both face from one another. And this is a title that is sure to become your next favorite. Speaking of favorites, are you, or maybe are your parents, a child of the 90s? Because if so, this next title is probably going to be incredibly familiar. That's right, guys. Animorphs are back! This title, first released in 1996. The Invasion is the very, very first Animorphs story reimagined in a graphic novel. In this story, 5 friends stumble across a crashed alien ship being piloted by a strange blue creature called an Andalite. The injured Andalite informs them that Earth is currently being invaded by its arch nemesis, an alien species known as the Yeerks. These slug-like creatures wrap themselves around a host's brain and take complete control over the host's body, which means that anyone can be a Yeerk. Fatally wounded, the Andalite decides to give the teens the power to morph into any animal that they touch in order to give them a fighting chance to survive and protect the Earth until the rest of the Andalite fleet can arrive in 1 year's time. These are very reminiscent of a cartoon, as if there wasn't a cartoon of this originally made. There was a live-action TV series, I think it was on Nickelodeon back in the day. There was never a cartoon before, but the cartoon-style animation of this graphic novel takes away a little bit of the uncomfortability of the original Animorphs series. One thing that was a little disturbing in the original Animorphs series was the transitions as people turned into different animals, morphed into different animals. That transition from human to animal could be a little disturbing. The transitions in this cartoon style animation, though, are not disturbing at all. They're very simplistic, but at the same time that makes it less scary and more engaging and entertaining for kids to read. And of course, we do maintain that same 5-friend group, which is great representation as we see lots of kids with diverse backgrounds and different cultures and different reasons for why they do and do not want to join in the battle against the Yeerks. Plus, with Scholastic announcing that they are currently working on a film adaptation of this classic series, this is sure to be only the first in what could be a very long line of graphic novels bringing this fantastic story to a whole new generation. And my last graphic novel to talk about today is called Pepper Page Saves the Universe. And this is more of a middle grade graphic novel. This is definitely more advanced and geared towards a higher level, more like 4th to 6th grade reading level. In this fantastic futuristic story, the year is 2421. Awkward and shy Pepper Page hides from bullying classmates and the many other perils of 9th grade by burying herself in the universe of her favorite superhero, Supernova. But when Pepper encounters a strange cat named Mr. McKittens and a volatile experiment being run by an evil substitute teacher, she is thrown into an alternate dimension, almost like where she discovers that she is actually the real Supernova. Reading this book is kind of like reading a comic within a comic, as it follows Pepper reading about Supernova, but Pepper actually is Supernova. The luminescent color scheme and the tall, lanky characters bring Pepper's world leaping off the page while still holding on to the relatable charm of this coming-of-age story. And the last section I want to focus on for this week's book look are, of course, our juvenile fiction, and that is going to be our novels. We're going to start off with an easy chapter book. This is one of those books that's designed to have the shorter chapters, the shorter page length, and the easier to read font. It also includes a variety of images and pictures throughout to help encourage children who are just graduating from those beginner readers and graphic novels and starting on longer novels and chapter books for the first time. This newest title in the Unicorn Diary series is called The Goblin Princess, and it's designed for between 1st to 2nd graders. In this newest installation, Greta the Goblin Princess wants magical Goblin Queen powers, and Bo the Unicorn is happy to help grant her wish. But when Greta accidentally causes trouble all over Sparkle Grove Forest, can Bo and the other unicorns use their imaginations to fix her royal mess? These have short 3 to 5 page chapters and a plethora of comic-style pictures, which makes this the perfect book to help build confidence in young readers. Next up, I've got a joy for both young fans and old fans alike. So the fans of the cult classic Disney show Gravity Falls will be thrilled to see this brand new book full of even more tales of the strange and unexplained. Mabel, Dipper, and Grunkle Stan are back in this bedtime storybook based on your favorite episodes. The entire book is illustrated as if it was Mabel's scrapbook, so there's stickers and little things like that throughout, and entertaining side notes from your favorite characters. For an added twist, at the end of each story, which is based off an episode of the show, there is also a condensed Grunkle Stan version of the events. So there's like a 1 page that talks from Grunkle Stan's perspective about what happened during that episode, and usually it's a total different story. He has no idea what's going on, and it's very entertaining. This is a great book for readers who can read the juvenile fiction level. It is also good for parents to read to kids who may have seen the show, but it breaks down really well as a bedtime book because it is designed to be those shorter chapters that just go over several of the most famous episodes. Next up in our juvenile fiction selections, we have Zombie or Not to Be. In this exciting middle grade fictional novel, something is rotten in the state of Denmark. But of course it is. It's filled with zombies, like science-minded Etta. But when her mother disappears and her Aunt Agonista seems less than concerned, and a climate crisis caused by anti-science humans in Norway threatens her very existence, Etta will have to navigate the tumultuous waters of friendship, zombiehood, and questioning the very nature of her existence. Part iZombie, part Shakespeare's Hamlet, this middle grade novel is a science-positive and hilarious thrill ride from beginning to end. So it's very funny, it's very entertaining, and it is actually meant to be a more modern, zombie-based retelling of Hamlet in an interesting middle grade appropriate way. And the last title that I want to talk about for this week's book look is One Jar of Magic. Critically acclaimed author Corey Ann Haydu brings us another original tale with this story. It seems like everyone has been waiting for Rose Anders' 12th birthday, even more than she has. The daughter of the most magical person in town, her father, this year will be the first time that she gets to capture magic for New Year's with everyone else, and the expectations are high for her to receive the most powerful magic in town. When the time comes, however, only one tiny jar of magic is filled. Suddenly, her father won't speak to her, her friendships all fall apart, and Rose starts to hear whispers about people who aren't meant for magic at all. Maybe if she is away from the jars of magic and from everyone telling her who she should be, she can finally figure out who she actually is. This is a touching tale of family, identity, and the wonders of the not-so-ordinary normal. This would be great for fans of Percy Jackson, Harry Potter, anyone who's interested in magic, or anyone who just doesn't quite feel like they belong in the ways that everyone is telling them they need to act, and is searching for a way to find and live their own truth. And that is it for this week's book look. I hope that you guys saw something that you are interested in. Of course, all of these titles are available for checkout at our downtown satellite location, library location, which is located in the Transportation Center. While you are downtown, make sure you check out our story walk that runs from April 1st through August. There is a story that is set up. It is a picture book, so it is designed for young readers along a route of businesses downtown, starting at the Transportation Center. Brochures are available there with maps so that you can find all of the pages of that fun book. So it's definitely something to go out, take a walk with a family, and check out our story walk. And I hope that you guys will check us out again for our next book look. Have a great day.